Welcome to the Good Success Podcast, where we encourage and challenge purpose-driven entrepreneurs to create, build, and maintain profitable businesses so they can have more to give more. Our motto is to be a conduit, not a bucket. Work to have to give. We hope you enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Good Success Podcast. I am your host, Tom Olson, and I have got Todd Miller with us today. And Todd Miller is a self-proclaimed tightwad. And I know by me just saying that, I've probably lost a couple people. And a couple people are like, I don't want to listen about, it's Christmas time, and I am not going to listen to this. But just hold on there. We are going to tell you guys, you know, this is a purpose-driven podcast for purpose-driven entrepreneurs that want to work to have to give, that want to be the conduit, not the bucket, that want to live your purpose. And if you're out there saying, I want to live my purpose, I really do want to live my life, asking who's going to thank God that I live my life, and they're going to be out there, and I'm going to be that conduit to those people out there. I promise you, there's only two ways to get there. And Todd, you're probably going to agree with me on this, but there's two ways. Number one, it's discipline, which is what nobody wants to hear. And number two is, okay, you're the 1 in a million that gets lucky. Well, guess what? If you're in America and you're the 1 in a million that gets lucky, that means there's 300 of you out there. And I don't know about you. I don't like my odds. What about you, Todd?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, if you're in America and you're listening to this, I think in a lot of ways, you've already hit the lottery. We have a lot of opportunities and things that a lot of the rest of the world don't have. So I think when you start approaching it from that point of view, you realize how good life is and all the good that you can do with the life that you've been given.
Absolutely. And that's absolutely true. 100%. I totally agree with that. But when it comes to actual finances, I don't really want to just leave that into the hands of fate. And Todd didn't do that himself. Like I said, Todd is a self-proclaimed tightwad who became financially free at the young age of 35 years old. I can relate to this. I was financially free, I think 36, 37. You may have had me beat by a couple of years. And for me, I found that it was probably similar to what, Todd has to say, except for I kind of actually gave myself an investment strategy. And I said, this is how we're going to do it and make it happen. But with Todd here, after graduating cum laude with a degree in finance from the University of Florida, Todd started working for a Fortune Global 500 company, right? You might think that's success, right? No, most people say, no, it's not success after they've been there a couple of years. Less than a year later, he got laid off due to the Great Recession. During this difficult period of time, he committed to living on his terms and becoming financially independent. So even though he got laid off, he said, you know what? I am still going to be financially independent. Tom dreamed of working less, experiencing more, and spending most of the time he possibly could with the people in his life that were most important to him. For the next 11 years, he worked and he worked and he worked in financial service, guiding thousands of people through the mortgage approval process, all while he saved, invested, and built passive income for the future. Then at 35, Todd accomplished his goal and became financially independent. He went on bucket list adventures around the world and eventually started, ready, drum roll everybody, tightwadtodd.com. I like that name, Todd. That's pretty good. Tightwad Todd.
Yeah, it's catchy, right?
Yes, I like it. Tightwad Todd. So this coaching business is a way for him to follow another passion, which is helping others. Its mission is financial education so everyone can achieve their goals faster, live free, and really have more fulfilling lives. And I kind of feel like that is the process. The process that we even preach here at Good Success is you have to work to have to give. Some people will give too much up front and then they wonder why they don't have it to give, but you have to have the focus on giving and what can you offer to people and why are you on this life, but you have to work. You have to create something of value to other people, and then you can have, and then you can give. But what most people spend too much time doing, and Todd's going to probably talk about this, I hope, at least I'm thinking with the name Tightwad Todd, is how to actually make sure that happens. So welcome to the show, Todd.
Thank you so much for having me on. Really happy to be here and share my story and hopefully give your listeners lots of good tips that they can implement help live better lives and add some real value to the rest of the world.
Yes, I'm really excited about it. And honestly, like you might think, we actually just had our mastermind here at Good Success, and it was called Profit First. And in a way, profit first is just a way of saying, hey, you need to make sure you carve out a piece of profit in your business first to make sure that you're going to move on to the future. And that's exactly what, from what I'm reading from Todd here, that's what he's talking about in your personal life. You kind of have to say, hey, this is profit first. This is for my future first. And I need to make sure that I am creating ways to be able to save money and then to be able to invest that money into the future. So just before we get started, I know 2021 is right around the corner for many of us. And I want everybody to just stop right now and just think about, hey, maybe 5 things in your life that you really would like to still do. Maybe they're bucket list items. Todd, I read in his bio about like how he did some bucket list adventures and he kind of did some things, but I want you just to stop right now. And I want you to think about 5 things. You say, hey, I would love to go to Australia, or maybe I would love to go feed the hungry in Uganda, or maybe I would love to, whatever it is for you. Maybe you want to take your family to Disney World. You've never done that before. Whatever the case is, for me, I have these 2 crazy dreams. One's to flip the city of Gary, Indiana, which I love doing what we're doing here. And one is to give away $1 billion. And to me, I've been tracking those goals. I've been tracking the giving goal since I was 12 years old, not because like I want to be able to pump my chest and tell everybody how awesome I am, but I kind of feel like that's why God placed me on this earth. And so I want everybody to stop, think about those 5 things right now that you want to still do. And then I want you to pick one of those out of the air, not out of the air, but like on purpose, and say, hey, I'm going to do this one in 2021. And it's funny, this time of year, everybody's talking about goals. And as listeners, we probably think, okay, another person talking about goals, another person, talking about like how to set your goals and how to have SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and trackable or timely, and how to maybe take action on them right now, right? So that's what most people talk about when they talk about goals. And that's really true. Like, I don't think that people are up talking about goals just because they have nothing else to talk about. They're talking about goals because they're important, and nobody ever reached anything without actually creating that goal. So I firmly believe in financial independence, and I'm glad we've got Todd on here to talk about this today because it's one of the things that I'm super passionate about. But I don't believe in financial independence just so we can sit on a beach. I believe in financial independence so we can work to have to give, so we can spend more of the time with the people that God placed on this earth to spend more of our time, our talent, and our treasure in what our real purpose is. So whatever that is for you, pick out that one and say, okay, when you write a book, you write you kind of think of the topic that you want. You have the end in mind, you have that goal, but then what do you normally write first? You write your outline. So that's what I'm going to challenge you to do today. I'm going to challenge everybody to pick out that goal, and then I want you to write your outline for 2021. What are the steps that are actually going to have to happen? What are you going to have to do? In business, we call these milestones. If you have a year goal, you might have a quarter goal, and then we want to put milestones, even that 13-week period of time, to say, how am I going to make sure I put a system in place and I know this is step 1, this is step 2, and this is step 3. And then this is the time that step 1 has to be done. This is the time that step 2 has to be done. And you might think this is silly just for one goal, just for one thing for 2021. But if you really want to make it happen, and if it really matters to you, you will make it happen. So pick a goal. And then I want you to say, number 1, I'm going to get it done in 2021. And lastly, I want you to write down the steps that you have to take, or those milestones, and then when those steps have to be taken. So whatever those is, maybe it's, hey, I want to take my kids to Disney World. Well, guess what? Probably first off, you got to save the money. Number 2, you got to plan the trip, book the trip. Number 3, book the airfare, whatever it is, all those steps, make it happen. And I think that will help a lot of people. I know it's helped me quite a bit when I'm planning out things is actually plan the plan, so to speak. So I hope you guys have success in 2021. And we've got Todd Miller here to help really for this. I think that a lot of what he's going to talk about today is really going to help. So Todd, why don't you just tell the audience a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Yeah, no, I think you just, you said a lot of great information there in that last couple of minutes that resonated with me. that it all does begin with a dream and a desire. And often it's the hardest part is figuring out what you want. And so, taking the time to really take a step back from your life, maybe taking a couple of days and going on a little personal retreat and praying about it and reading about it and seeing, how you project your life and what kind of things you want, that really sparks the energy within yourself to want to start working hard to pursue these goals and these dreams that you have. But yeah, I'm Todd. I'm down in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm a money coach. So my real love is helping people to figure out their finances, because I think finance and money is one thing that really holds people back from their dreams. They get caught up in spending habits and things that really handcuffs them to a job or to a lifestyle that they maybe don't particularly love, but then they're forced to work in order to pay these bills and meet these obligations. So my goal is to help people kind of understand their money a lot better so they understand where it's going. And once they kind of start figuring that out, then they can start directing their money and using their money to achieve their goals and to achieve their dreams.
That's awesome. And so you're in Jacksonville, Florida right now, which is a little bit warmer than where we are up here in Northwest Indiana. It's in the middle of the winter here and it's starting to get cold, and at least we got a nice wood burning fireplace, and it does smell good. When I come down in the morning, we have our nice fire there. But so Tightwad Todd, is this something that you came up with, or is this just kind of something that evolved over time?
So I got to give credit to my fiance because she's actually the one who dubbed me a tightwad. So she and I didn't really have
that's not so much of a good thing all the time, Todd.
It's not. It's really not. But it's kind of a funny story because she and I are really like outdoorsy kind of people. We like to go biking and camping and that sort of thing. So early on in our relationship, she would ask me, why aren't we going out to these nice dinners and going on these fancy dates and this kind of thing? Because we were always, outside playing and going on, runs and that kind of thing. So she started accusing me of being a tightwad, and it just kind of stuck over the next couple of years as we were dating and our relationship was progressing. So it just kind of stuck. So when I was looking for the name of a coaching business, she was quick to jump in and say, "Hey, Tightwad Todd, I bet you can get that one." So here we are, and everybody seems to like the name. It's kind of sticks with you. So yeah.
So is she still your fiance then?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Hopefully that's you guys gonna tie that knot soon?
Yeah, we're actually getting married here at the middle of December, so we're just a couple of weeks away.
That is excellent. Well, congratulations to you. Congratulations to your wife, and if or future wife here. But if she is listening, I just want to point out, I have talked to many different people in this situation where the guy is the one that's kind of like, we need to have these boundaries. We need to make sure that we are a little bit, to a tight. And honestly, I'm probably not that way that much. I kind of need to kind of make sure I'm holding in the reins a little bit. There's things that I'm tightwads on and things that I'm not so much at times, but I've talked to couples, and it's very interesting. The guys that will take that leadership role in that relationship, when it comes to that, I just want to let you know, whoever you are, I don't know your name, but you have a good man. You have somebody who really does care about you and will take care of you, and will also be a tightwad when it comes to things in the future that will pertain to you, not giving to you necessarily, but actually being able to provide for you. So I really do think that I've seen this quite a bit. Actually, the guy who was speaking here at our last Good Success Mastermind, Dave Richter, who's actually writing the book Profit First for Real Estate Investors right now, they were very, very, very similar to this. I saw them when they were just getting married, and it was really interesting. Dave is a great guy. And I think the reason why he has a lot of financial success today is because he saved up and did the things in the future. So why don't you just give our audience a little bit of your story? How did you become such a tightwad, Todd?
So for me, it really all started back in college. And I was introduced to a couple of books. The first one I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which I'm sure a lot of your listeners and big real estate investors, that's one that really resonated with them. And that's exactly what happened to me, is I learned that there was a different path. I wasn't wasn't necessarily required to work in an office for the next 40 years to get to a point where I could retire and then really start pursuing my other goals and dreams in life. There was a path to make these things happen earlier. So after I read that one, I immediately got the 4-hour work week, and that one kind of, made my mind explode because, my entire life I had learned that I was supposed to work for 40 years and then I needed to work, 40 or 50 hours every week in order to be able to reach this point of retirement. So understanding that, you could do things different and you could create, streams of income and businesses where, you could kind of manage the business as opposed to being required to work in the business. That was a big mind shift for me too. So really understanding that I didn't have to work 40 hours a week and I didn't have to work 40 years. That was huge for me to learn at such a young age. So that kind of got me started on the entrepreneur path. So while I was in school at the University of Florida, I started a couple of small businesses. The Gators always have a really good football team. So every year we would be invited to one of the major bowl games. So about the time that we were going to these bowl games, I would go around to my friends and collect their student IDs and go down to the ticket office and buy, 20 or 30 tickets at a time. And then I would turn around and sell them online through like eBay and things like StubHub, and make a little profit that way. So I thought that was pretty cool concept. So I was looking for other ideas on how I could do this a little bit more regularly. So a friend of mine and I got together and started buying and selling textbooks. So we'd stand outside of classes at the end of every semester, offering to buy people's books as they were leaving, their final exam. And then we would turn around a couple of weeks later and sell them all and make a nice little profit. So then I was thinking, so I can do that, 2 or 3 times a year. What's something I can do that's a little bit more regular? So I got into buying and selling cell phones. Because during college, people were always looking to upgrade or, they lose or break their phone. So it was always a constant little market of people looking for cell phones. So I did that for a while and then eventually got to the point where I had to graduate. And I ended up getting a really good job. I got a job with a Fortune Global 500 company. And, my parents were really proud of me at that point that, I graduated with honors and had this great job lined up. But I really felt like I was living their dream and wasn't really living the dream life that I wanted to live. They had worked hard for me to be able to get to this point of, having a good education and getting a good job, which I was grateful for, but it just didn't feel like that's the direction I wanted to go. So I was at this job for probably about 6 or 8 months before the recession really hit and I got laid off. So that really came as a shock to me because, as I'm going through the whole schooling process, like most people are, you're really thinking about, graduating and then getting that job. You don't really hear about the people that get laid off and the recessions that hit. That's usually not a big topic of conversation. So that came as a real big surprise to me and was a really difficult emotional period in my life, which I'm sure, a lot of people in today's environment are going through a similar thing. But it really gave me the time and space to take a step back to reflect on what I wanted to accomplish. What did I want my life to look like? And for me, I decided that, I didn't want to be held to a job for the rest of my life. I wanted to have freedom to be able to pursue my passions and to do the things that I wanted to do and spend time with my friends, family, and loved ones. I see too many people in today's, working environment where they're working 60 hours, 70 hours a week, and, they have very little time for much else. And that's just not how I wanted to live. So I started looking for my next job and I decided that, in order for me to really grow as a person, I needed to get out of my comfort zone. And I'm more of a quiet, introverted kind of a person. So I decided, hey, there's going to be nothing that's going to get me out of my comfort zone more than getting into sales. So that's where I went. So I jumped into a job in mortgage banking and started learning about the world of mortgages. And this allowed me to look at, thousands upon thousands of people's personal finances over the next decade and really see how people were using money. There's a lot of people that are, that make a really good income, that make hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, but are also in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And they're in this endless cycle of spending and just working in order to survive and aren't really to put anything away. But I also realized that, there's also a good segment of people out there that are focused on building wealth. And when they're building wealth, that allows them to pursue their other dreams and other passions and make more of an impact in the world. And that really inspired me, because that's kind of what I was looking for, was being able to have more of an impact and being able to help others. So that really led me to dive into the world of personal finance and to see, how I could go about reducing my expenses and becoming a tightwad, to live frugally, also that I could save more money. And if I had more money that I could save, then I could invest that money and put it to work for me and build this passive income so that I could, get out of the job that was occupying way too much of my time and not allowing me to pursue my dreams and the impact that I wanted to have in the world. So I really started off with funding some of my friends' real estate flips. So I was a private lender because I was in the mortgage industry, so I knew a good bit about mortgages. So I would fund some of my friends' flips. They would kind of give me the details on what they were buying, how much they thought the rehab would be, and what they expected to sell it for. And so I funded the first couple of their deals, and we made a little profit. And then I decided that, hey, these guys are no smarter than I am, so let me try this out. So I got into buying some rentals and holding them and generating cash flow to start replacing my income. So I kind of started going down that path of building up my passive income, and eventually started getting into, small multifamily deals. And just my focus really became on, how can I get out of my job? And for me, it really came down to my budget. And the three main parts of the budget are your income, your expenses, and your savings. So I was focused on how can I grow my income? And I was in a sales job, so I was paid based on my performance. So if I didn't feel like working, then that would affect my income. But if I really felt like putting in a hard effort day in and day out, that my income would increase and I would have something to show for it. So I did that. And then I also took a look at my expenses. So for most people, their housing expense is one of their largest expenses. So I was looking for ways to reduce that. So for me, I was a young single guy at the time, so I was able to get a roommate and really reduce that expense. And doing all these things really led me to be able to save more. And a lot of people fall into the trap of, when they make more income, they feel like they need to save more, or, they get the promotion, so their lifestyle starts creeping up because they feel like they need to keep up with the Joneses, or, they need to show the world that they're successful. But I just did things a little bit differently. I used the income and the decreased savings that I created in order to save and then put more money towards my dreams and to my goals. So I did this for about 11 years, and then I eventually was able to completely replace my income, and I quit my job, and that allowed me to pursue another love of mine, which is travel. So my fiance and I took the next year and went and traveled the world. We spent about 4 months over in Europe, came back to the States and was there for the birth of my niece. And then we took it off to Asia, and we're in Asia for about 6 months. So all the while, I was thinking about what was next, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to sit still for too long. A lot of entrepreneurs out there, they just have this drive that they have to be doing something, and they have to be, trying to leave their impact or create something in the world. And that's exactly what I felt. And so as I was, again, reflecting on my experience, I learned that I'd seen, people's finances, tens of thousands of people's finances over my career. And I also had been on my own personal finance journey and had learned a lot and made a lot of mistakes along the way. And for me, it was really helping people to create their own financial independence and their own financial freedom, so that they can go out and pursue their own goals and their own dreams, just like I was able to, because that's what really helped me to feel fulfilled and feel impactful and to reach these huge milestones in my life. and have these experiences that I wouldn't have been able to have if I was, tied down to a job.
So you said a lot there, and I kind of want to just kind of review over some of it. First of all, you said, and I think you kind of repeated what I said about like setting goals is like the hardest part for most people is to just make that first step of stopping whatever they're doing long enough to decide what it is that they want. And it sounds like you did that. And then it took you about 11 years to reach that goal. So once you said, I'm going to hit this goal, I'm going to make sure that my passive income comes in more than my expenses. And it took you about 11 years to do that. And it sounds like you also did that. And a lot of people that do listen to this are connected to real estate because I also own several real estate businesses and my wife's a broker and we build rental portfolios for investors. And I have a lending company and lots of people loan money to me. And, we've done a lot of things in real estate for that. Although good success in my mind is not, a real estate focused mastermind community, it's not really real estate focused. A lot of my network comes from people in real estate because that's kind of also part of my journey of what, kind of what you said. Most of the way I have created my own first personal financial freedom plan has been either in rentals or in lending or in business as well. So I think business is something that I really like to be a part of. And I'm really passionate about building businesses and creating business plans for people and trying to put people on those same paths. And you can stop me anytime if I'm wrong, because I just want to make sure that I'm reviewing the story and I understand it. So it took you 11 years to do it. And it sounds like you did it through real estate, right? So through rentals, syndications, maybe, or apartments, maybe. And then maybe you also, obviously you started your whole real estate being basically a private lender or a hard money lender to your buddies. And then it took you 11 years to be able to figure this out. And I think in personally, I already said that there was two paths at the beginning of this podcast, but I'll reduce it. I mean, I'll repeat it again. I think there's also two paths in business. One is like, yes, you can actually go for higher sales. Sometimes our businesses just don't have enough revenue. However, there's a faster way to actually get to profit, and there's a faster way to actually get to financial independence. And a lot of times that is reducing expenses. And we found this. We have learned this in 2020. If you own a business, I almost guarantee you, unless you're Amazon or unless you're Walmart, you've been reducing expenses this year. You've been thinking about, hey, do I really need to do this? Do I really need to spend money on this in this 2020 year? And honestly, like I was just in a mastermind last week where a lot of people in the room were very happy with where they were at year to date. And I was one of them. I'm pretty happy with where we're at year to date, but I never would have been able to be there if I didn't reduce expenses this year. If we kept going on the same track that we were going on, we may not be sitting as pretty as we are right now. So, as soon as you reduce expenses, it goes right to the bottom line. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It just literally goes right to the bottom line. So why don't you just, so it sounds like there are two things that you're maybe trying to help people with. I love to kind of have you tell the audience how it is that you're actually helping other people reach financial independence. Are you really focusing on the Tightwad Todd, or are you really focusing on the investment side of it?
So it's a combination of both. Everybody has different goals and their lifestyle looks different. But for me, I was really willing to make some sacrifices in the short term in order to achieve this lifestyle that I'd be able to live for, the rest of my life, so to speak. But it's really taking a look at people's individual financial situation and looking at that and looking at their goals and seeing how can we adjust your finances to help you achieve your goals. So for some people, that's living more on a budget and looking at your spending and deciding, what's the most important things that you spend money on. For most people, there's a couple of categories that they spend on that bring them a lot of joy and a lot of happiness, but there's usually also a lot of wasteful spending, things that you just spend money on because you always have, or you haven't really given it any thought. Like for me, I'm not a big person that likes to go out to eat. I can go out to eat 2 or 3 times a month, and more than okay with me. But some people feel the need to go out and eat, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and that really affects the budget and the amount of money that they're able to save. But I would encourage them to really reflect and to look on the amount of benefit that they're getting. A lot of the ways that we spend money just become habit. They don't really provide us any real benefit. I have several friends that go out to eat all the time, and that's just kind of the lifestyle that they have developed. But when I really sit and talk to them, they don't really get any benefit by going out to eat. It's just like the simplicity of not having to cook, kind of a thing. So we really look at that. So we're looking at expenses for the most part, because those are the things that we can make changes in today, and we can start seeing effects and impacts on your financial bottom line come next week. So it's always easier to start with expenses. And then once we kind of get the expenses under control and have a spending plan in place, then we can really start focusing on income. And for most people, the way that they can increase their income is, talking to their boss and seeing what they can do in order to make more money, or to look at shifting to a different company in order to make more money. Sometimes it's shifting careers entirely. My first job was more of a salaried position, so it didn't really matter so much how hard I worked. I was going to make, my salary no matter my performance. As long as I kept my boss somewhat happy, that's all that really mattered. But when you move into more of a performance-based role, then you're really in charge of your income. If you feel like working hard, then you're eventually going to be rewarded for that monetarily, and you'll be able to make more money. And then also, like you alluded to, this is looking at different options that you can put your money to work for you, so that you can start developing this passive income. So for me, it all started in private lending, and then that really piqued my interest into real estate and all the tax benefits that come along with that, which allows me and everyone else to save more of your money and to have it compound and grow into larger amounts, which helps you ultimately achieve your goals and dreams that much faster.
So I really like where you're going with all this. I've actually written a book called Active Turnkey: The Best Way to Buy Rentals. And I opened up the entire book, basically talking about financial freedom and how to actually give yourself a quick kind of overview plan to be able to reach financial independence. And I feel like we've talked about this quite a bit right now on this. So I just wanted to review it. The very first step is something that I talked about at the beginning is, what do you really want? Do you really want financial independence or not? And then kind of backing it up and kind of like, I think where you kind of bring in budget is kind of where I say, okay, where are you at now? Like, what is going on right now? What are you doing? How much money are you making? What is your budget? What should you be? And then figuring out like, it's kind of like where you're at now, and then what are you going to change in the budget right now to be able to make that happen. But that's kind of all in that stage of where are you at right now. And I think sometimes it is an eye opener. I've actually done several budgets with people throughout the years, and it was amazing. I saw one person who was spending $500 a month in Starbucks. And if you think about that, $500 a month will fund your self-directed IRA, or it will fund your IRA for the year. And if you just started doing that when you were 20 years old over a 40, 50-year period of time, making 10% interest, it's like $1 million. Like, you guys are literally drinking your financial freedom. And that's not even talking about the people that spend the money in the bars or the casinos or something that's just completely, not necessary at all. I understand why coffee is necessary, and I'm with you. Coffee is a necessity in my household, but I don't necessarily need to spend $500 a month in Starbucks. But figuring out where you're at now and being humble enough to kind of just say, okay, this is where I'm at in this situation. I think the next step you look at is, okay, well, where's the gap? So where you want to go and where you're at now, what is that gap? What are those changes that need to happen? And I think in that same stage, you need to really dig deep down and know why you want to make that leap. Why do you really want to do that? Is it worth it to you? Because for some people, it's really not. And I don't understand why it's not. And maybe they don't really want what they say they want. And, or maybe they're not being honest with themselves about it. But the old thing about short-term sacrifice for long-term gain is a real thing, and it does happen. You do reap what you sow. It's not my law, it's God's laws. So then, thirdly, what is that gap and why do you want to make that leap? And then kind of comes that step of how do I actually make that leap? And I think sometimes people get this kind of upside down. They focus on all the investments first, but they haven't really even created a plan. They haven't really even, gone through these beginning foundational stages to kind of put their own house in order first to be able to actually create that plan. So it's very important to kind of go through those other first three stages first. So how are you going to make it happen? For me, I told everybody, originally when I went through this, it was rentals, it was lending, and it was business. That was it. Like I would encourage you not to be too complicated with that investment financial strategy. Now we do vacation rentals. Now we have a lending company. Now we do other things as well. And you can add to your, those passive buckets down the road, but just learn, a couple. You don't need to learn 10 of them right now. You just need to start with one. And then I think it's important, Todd, to come up with a when. Like, give myself a timeline. I actually firmly believe that almost anybody in this, especially if you live in the United States, you can reach financial freedom in 5 to 7 years if you will say, hey, I'm going to reach this in 5 or 7 years. I really do believe that. For my personal journey, I gave myself a 5-year plan, and I actually reached it in 3.5 years because things just start happening, and when momentum starts happening, you can't really stop it. So it's really awesome. And then lastly, what are you going to do right now? So maybe what you need to do right now is call yourself a coach. The best in the world have coaches. The best people. I mean, Tiger Woods still has a coach. Michael Jordan still had a coach when he was the best basketball player that ever lived. It's funny. We think that they're the best in the world, or we think that they have the coaches because they're the best in the world. No, they're the best in the world because they have coaches. And sometimes, and most of the time in those instances I just named, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, I guarantee you their coaches were not as good as they were. So I think sometimes we have this misperception that, maybe Todd, he may not be as wealthy as I am, so I can't go to Todd. And I don't know, maybe Todd is. He might be a multi-billionaire. I have no idea. But what I'm saying is, there's the old verse in the Bible that talks about, looking at the needle in somebody else's eye when there's a beam in your own eye. There's several different ways to take that verse and think about it. Number one, we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be looking at other people and looking at their flaws. No. However, when you do look at other people, even though you might have a beam in your eye, you can still see those flaws in other people. You need that second set of eyes. Me personally, I'm working with coaches right now in things that I'm like, man, I thought I was pretty good at this, but now having somebody else look at me, I have a health coach right now. I'm actually doing some stuff with my mortgage that's very interesting on a structure to be able to pay it down in 7 or 8 years with the same money, guys. We're not talking about adding a bunch of money to my mortgage payment. We're talking about just changing the structure in which you have a HELOC attached to the whole process instead of just using your mortgage. And people don't realize that they're paying way more money, the 3% mortgage that they're paying even in credit cards because of the amortization schedule over time. It's really interesting to kind of learn about structures, about how banks make money on us, and we can actually turn that same system around and really kind of take advantage of the system ourselves instead of just them taking advantage of the system. So whatever that is, create that plan for you and make that happen. So Todd, thank you so much for investing in our community today. I really do appreciate it. Do you have any kind of exciting project or anything that you're working on right now that you'd like the audience to know about?
Yeah, right now I have a really, really cool white paper up on our website. And that website's tightwadtodd.com. And it's really just outlining all the different ways that you can go about achieving financial independence. So I would encourage people to go check out the website and to sign up for our newsletter to get this white paper, which will let you take a look at some different ways that you can use your money to create more independence in your life, which ultimately is going to help you reach your goals and leave more of an impact on the world.
So that's tightwadtodd.com. I really encourage everybody to go there and actually check it out. I checked it out a couple of days ago and I was really impressed. I thought it was really good. And you know, it's funny. I'm actually reading a book right now, and I don't think I have it on my desk right now. I did have it on my desk here, but I don't have it. And I'm actually giving it to my kids as well, just like ways to save money. It's not that you have to, but we should always be kind of like reminding ourselves about these things, because if not, we kind of get out of hand, right, Todd?
Exactly. Yeah. Especially at the turn of the new year. That's usually the time when most people start reviewing their financial plan and kind of take a look back to see how they did over the previous year. So this is a great opportunity to take a look and check your performance and see how you did in 2020, but also to look ahead into 2021 and see the areas in your life that just aren't providing much benefit to you and looking for ways to reduce those. So that you'll have more money to put towards the goals and the things and the impact that you want to make on the world. I mean, that's ultimately what it all comes down to. Is we're not here to be and live a very self-fulfilling life. We're here to share our own skills with the world, and that's why good success really resonates with me, because that's exactly how I feel. That's kind of my whole purpose in life at this point, is to help people understand their finances so that they can achieve their own goals and go on to make the world a better place for us all.
Yes, we're really synergistic in that, and I really appreciate your whole mindset and the whole reason why you do what you do, and everything. So, you know, you've talked about the website, and I want to dig a little bit deeper before we kind of get into the final two questions of the podcast, though, about so let's just say somebody right now says, "All right, you know what? I'm done. I need that accountability. I need that extra coach. I need somebody that's gonna, rein it in for me, that's gonna hold me accountable, or that's gonna help me create an accountability plan to actually put me on the path to have financial independence." How does that work with you? Is that just pretty much, is it the same thing? Go to the website, and then maybe you can fill out a form to be able to get somebody to contact you from your organization, or is there an email that people could just email you directly with, or what do you think? What is that next step for them?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is to go to the website, and we do have a coaching section on there where you can find out a little bit more about what we do. And it really does start with taking a look at your overall financial situation and seeing where you are currently and the habits that you've created, and then going in and making some adjustments together to get you on a path to start working towards these goals and these dreams. Because I think that a lot of people end up having to spend a lot of their time working a job that they don't really necessarily love or find fulfilling, because it all results from their spending habits. So when you can really get your spending habits under control, that just helps you to create more freedom in your life, which again ultimately allows you to pursue these dreams and goals that you'll one day be able to hit earlier than you even think is possible, so that you can start working on, leaving your legacy or leaving the impact that you want to leave on the world.
So it's awesome. So again, everybody, that's tightwadtodd.com. If you guys are interested in coaching or interested in some kind of one-on-one, fill out those forms and get with Todd. And honestly, I would just implore you, and I would encourage you, especially if you're one of those people out there where you're like, I've never really tasted this. A lot of times we pay for the decisions that we make instead of enjoying the decisions that we make. And I think looking at things in hindsight, I would just encourage you to look at things in hindsight. Think of yourself in 20 years from now and say, hey, is this going to be a good decision to hire Todd as my coach, or is this going to be a bad decision? And I would almost guarantee you that it would be a good decision to hire a financial coach to kind of help you get through this, especially if you're just starting out, or especially if you've never really thought of it this way and you said, hey, this would be a really good thing to be able to happen for me. So I do really want to encourage everybody to get on the website and to hire somebody. If it's not Todd, hire somebody like Todd to be able to put yourself on that financial freedom plan and to really be more deliberate, be more purposeful about living your life. So we got two more questions for you, and we ask everybody that comes onto this podcast these two questions. The first one is, good success for us means a lot. It's just the name, even the logo, everything we do around it is very is very purposeful. The whole brand build out, everything that we've done with Good Success is very important to us. It's really about having the right kind of success. So when you hear good success, we always like to know what our guests on the podcast think about good success and what they think their definition of good success is. So when you hear good success, what does it mean to you?
So I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is impact, and how is somebody going about and making humanity better off. So what are the steps that somebody's taking in order to make the world a better place for all those that are in it? And I look at a lot of the advertisements on TV right now, and one that keeps popping back up for me is Amazon, and the steps that Amazon is taking to reduce their global emissions, because we see that climate change is going to have a real impact on the future of our world. And seeing that these companies are being responsible, and seeing the impact that they make right now, and knowing that, hey, they can do things better, and continuously challenging themselves to be better and be better global stewards to everyone that's in it, and not to be as focused on profit, and knowing that profit is part of it, but also being a good steward of the world and its resources.
I love it. So there's kind of two definitions there, a little bit, how to be a better steward, but also how do you make this world a better place? I think I guess it kind of all kind of ties into itself a little bit. And I do believe that that's all we are here on this earth. This world is not our home. We are just a passing through, but we are given the opportunity to be stewards of what we have been given. And I believe stewardship is about multiplying. It is about doubling what we've been given, whether it's been time, talent, treasure, network. It doesn't really matter. All those things we are commanded, I believe, to double those talents and to double those things, and then be willing to give them back to the creator and the person that's given them to us. So that's a really good, I love that. So impact and how you are making this world a better place. I love it. Thank you, Todd, for that so much. So, we've got you on here, and you probably have a ton of wisdom that I could probably sit here and talk to you all day, Todd. And we could probably just have conversation after conversation. But we've only got a couple more minutes here. And I always just want to squeeze one more bit of information out, whatever I can possibly get, one more little golden nugget, one more little tip or whatever it is from our guests on the podcast. So if you had to give the audience just one thing, maybe it's a tip, maybe it's a book, maybe it's a life lesson, or maybe it's just a statement that you really love, what would that be?
So the one that keeps coming up for me is success leaves clues. So people that have figured things out, or figured out the goal that you're after, it didn't happen by accident. They took the time and made the mistakes to be able to achieve the things that they were able to achieve. So I would encourage people to go out and find a friend, find a mentor, find somebody who's achieved these things that you want to achieve, because they'll be able to help you achieve it in a faster and easier manner than they did. Especially when it comes to things like finances. I find that too many people go about handling their money all by themselves. They try and do it on their own, or they go and they hire a financial advisor to help them through their own personal finances. But in most instances, financial advisors and a lot of financial professionals are glorified salespeople. They're not necessarily there to help you and to help you achieve your goals. They may say that they do, but they earn a big commission in the process, which really hurts your returns and your overall growth and your ability to achieve your own dreams. I mean, just take a look at most of the financial advisors out there. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have financial independence, or else they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. So I think it's important for most people to talk to a coach, or to talk to somebody who's going to give them an unbiased opinion on their finances and the things that they're doing, and to make sure that those things are eventually going to lead them to their goals and the things that they want out of life.
I couldn't agree with you more. It is a sad thing. And when you have to really look at you kind of have to get yourself out of the situation sometimes to really look at it from 30,000 feet. And you're exactly right. I'd say 90% of all financial advisors, they get you in, you find them because it's free to talk to them. And it's free to talk to them because the only reason why, they're, instead of like you interviewing them, which you should be, like they're interviewing you, and they've got the whole thing twisted upside down really against you. It's kind of like a mortgage on a bank. Like, honestly, like I'm going to get into this at some point in a podcast, but like you pay more money with a mortgage than you're going to pay on a car loan, even though a car loan's interest is much, much higher. There's a difference between simple interest and amortized interest. And it's the same way with financial advisors. Almost every one of them is selling a product, and all they're doing is trying to educate you into buying their product instead of looking at the whole thing. And instead of you just paying them, honestly, like it would be so much better for you just to pay them for their time to actually help you and look at it from what's really in your best interest, not what's in the best interest of some particular policy or some particular annuity or some particular stock or whatever the case is. You really want to make sure. And actually, it's kind of funny because sometimes I feel bad when I'm helping people with their finances because I have options for people. And I almost push back. I'm like, I'm not trying to tell you to come to me and necessarily buy a turnkey rental. I'm not telling you necessarily to come to me and loan money to me. There's lots of other people that you can do this with. I kind of look at myself like a fiduciary in that respect, and I'm not trying to educate you into buying what I have to sell. I really want what's best for you. And sometimes what's best for you might be for you to invest with me. And sometimes it might not be the best thing for you. So, but you're exactly right, Todd. And I love it. And I wish there was more people like Todd out there that are just really trying to consult people on finances. And you know what? Like they should be compensated for that. So there is obviously some payment to be made there. And I believe it's the best investment that you'll ever make, though, is when you actually invest in yourself and invest in coaching and accountability. Accountability is one thing we don't like, but it's probably the one thing that we need the most, especially when it comes to our finances. So thank you again, Todd, for joining us today. I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate your investment in this community.
Thank you so much for having me on. Hope you guys have a wonderful, happy new year in 2021.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. I do want to just remind everybody, if you're listening to this and you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please subscribe. Please go onto iTunes and give us 5 stars, but also share this with your friends. Even just voice to voice, like even just when you're talking to people over the holidays and just letting people know, hey, listen to the Good Success podcast. They've got some really good guests on there, and they have some really good thought to really, if you really say you're the type of people that want to work to have to give, if you want to be the conduit, not a bucket, if you want to use your time, talents, and treasures for the reason why God gave them to you in the first place, if you really are that person, then tell everybody else about us that you also think may be that person as well. We do have the Good Success Mastermind. We have an amazing virtual mastermind that meets 20 times per year. In addition to that, you also get access to the local club 12 times a year and the national mastermind and 3 national boot camps virtually. And all that for only $1,500. I honestly, I've never seen a program out there that's even close to that type of number. Most of them that I see are $10,000, $15,000 that I see. But I really want as many Christian entrepreneurs as I possibly can to be able to work to have to give, and to have a community of other people that want to work to have to give and give you advice, not just based on what Todd said, something they want to sell you, but give advice based on what's really the best for you and how you can have your own personal financial freedom. You guys can find us there at sales@goodsuccess.com. You can email us there at sales@goodsuccess.com, or you can find us at goodsuccess.com to find out more information about the mastermind or other events or products that we have to serve you for. So that's going to do it for today. Remember to be a conduit, not a bucket. Work to have to give. God bless. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of the Good Success Podcast, and we hope to see you on the next one. God bless.